was a single mother with a 3-year-old daughter. And she receives from a friend a box of Dove chocolates. And she's just excited because they're the dark chocolate from Dove, and she just craves those. And she can't help but express her joy in receiving this gift. And her 3-year-old daughter sees this joy and thinks she has to have some too. And the mother goes, "Oh, I have to share." And so she takes out one piece of chocolate and gives it to her 3-year-old daughter and says, "Here, you can have this, now go to bed." And then she sits down and savors about 4 pieces herself. Then she puts it away. During the middle of the night, a thunderstorm came up. And she had to get up and she closed the windows and she was shutting down the hatches a little bit. And as she walked in the hall, she kept crunching on paper. And she turned on the light, and here was a trail of candy wrappers all the way to the Dove candy box, and the box was empty. 2 pounds of candy consumed by her 3-year-old daughter. She thought, "Oh, surely she's sick," so she went in to check on her. And there she was, sleeping like an angel. Mom woke her up and said, "Honey, why did you eat all of my chocolates?" "I didn't do it, Mom." "Honey, there are only 2 of us that live in this house, and I know I didn't eat them. So why did you?" And she mumbled under her breath, "Boy, I wish I had a baby brother. I wish I had somebody that I could put the blame on." We're so good at learning that early in our lives that we want to blame somebody else for what we do. We don't ever want to fess up to our own wrongdoings and our own sins. We would rather make sure that somebody else gets in trouble for what we ourselves do. We're pretty good at that, aren't we? And then as we get into the adult life, why, we get even better at it. And we lie, and we cheat, and we steal. You don't believe me? How many of you have filled out your 1040 form and looked for all the loopholes that you can get? Maybe you didn't report that little extra income that you had in cash. Every time that you do something like that, you're cheating the government. You're cheating someone else. So we all do it. We all lie, we all cheat, we all steal. I don't think any of us don't do that. But why do we do that? You see, God gave us these 10 rules, 10 commandments, 10 laws, so that we could live in a more perfect relationship with Him. David, in Psalm 19, wrote, "The law of the Lord is perfect, reviving the soul. The statutes of the Lord are trustworthy, making wise the simple. The precepts of the Lord are right, giving joy to the heart. The commands of the Lord are radiant, giving light to the eyes. The fear of the Lord is pure, enduring forever. The ordinances of the Lord are sure and altogether righteous. They are more precious than gold, than much pure gold. They are sweeter than honey, even honey from the comb. By them your servant warned, in keeping them there is great reward." Now how would David say that about those laws? If we keep the laws, if we honor the laws, if we hold true to the laws, we're going to get a great reward. We're going to have joy in our lives and in our living because we're living the right way. We're living a responsible way. But too many of us want to give up that responsibility. And some of you are probably saying, "Okay, but that's the Old Testament. That's the old covenant that God had made with the people." And I would say to you, if you're thinking that, Jesus says in Matthew on the Sermon on the Mount, "I didn't come to abolish the law and the prophets. Rather, I came to fulfill them." And then in Matthew chapter 5 and 6, you'll notice that he says, "You've heard it said that you shall not murder. But what I say to you is that if you have anger growing in your heart, you've already committed murder. You've heard it said, you shall not commit adultery. But if you look lustfully at another woman, in your heart, you've already begun the process of committing adultery." Jesus takes what is a command, a law from God, and turns it inward and places it in our heart and causes us to see that it's the beginning of the action begins inside. Once we've already acted, it's because we've already been thinking about it for a while inside our minds. God wants us to have responsible living for Him. If no one followed the rules in basketball, the game would be no fun to watch. If there were no rules, there would be no game. I would say the same is true about life. If we have no rules, or if we always break the rules that are there in our life and in our living, then life really isn't worth the living because we don't get along with each other. There is chaos. Confirmation class covered this on Wednesday night. And I put a ball in the center of the room, and I said, okay, we're going to play a new game. I know it's new because it doesn't have any rules yet. You're going to make up the game. I know I've never played it because you're going to make it up. And then I said, one hinge. There can't be any rules because we're going to talk about freedom tonight, so we don't have any rules. And pretty soon they came to realize that without rules, it's just chaos, and there's no scoring because there's no rules. And if there's no scoring, there's no fun. And they realized that in order to have a game, there have to be rules. And in order for the game to be fun for everyone, everyone needs to follow the rules. God understood that about life. And so He gave this set of commandments, this set of rules to the Israelite people, saying, you follow these rules and you'll live a good life and you'll be happy. And your heart will be filled with joy. I don't give these rules as punishments, but as a guideline for the way that you should live. And when Jesus came, He said, I'm not going to abolish those old rules, those old laws. I'm going to fulfill them, but I want to take it a step further. I don't want you to think about doing those bad things. I want you to concentrate and think about doing something good. If your neighbor or someone else hits you on the left cheek, turn him the other cheek as well. If somebody steals from you, takes away your cloak, give him your coat as well. He takes it a step further than what the Old Testament does. And He says, let's live in a relationship with one another where we honor and respect each other. When we talk about responsible living, we talk about taking charge of our lives. And when we do something wrong, admitting our faults to God and whoever we've wronged. And that's what makes it responsible. The irresponsible would look at what we're doing wrong and put the blame on somebody else. I didn't do it. The devil made me do it. No. You did it. When you misbehave, it's because you misbehaved. Unfortunately, I think we teach our children these habits of lying when they're far too young. I know I did. Don't tell your mom we're stopping for ice cream today. Make sure that she doesn't know. We'll get ice cream, but don't tell your mom. When I do that, I'm telling them a lie. Sorry, guys. And I think we all do. And we think there's nothing wrong with it. But there is. Because we learn those habits at a young age, and then it's hard to let them go as we grow older. So learn the rules for responsible living. And trust God with your whole heart. This week's lesson for our Lenten lesson focused on the Good Samaritan. The lawyer comes up to Jesus and asks, what must I do to inherit eternal life? And Jesus says, well, obey the laws. How do you read them? And he said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, with your entire mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus said, you've answered correctly. Now go and do that, live that, and you'll receive eternal life. But the lawyer wanted to justify himself, asking the question. And so he said, okay, who's my neighbor? And Jesus tells the story of the Good Samaritan, where one of their own falls to some robbers and thieves, is beaten up, and is left half dead. A priest and Levite, the teachers and the keepers of the law, each are passing by that way, and they go completely out of their way to go around the man who has fallen. The Samaritan, which is a person that was hated by the Jews because they were Jewish, but they thought that the temple was not necessary to be in Jerusalem. They could have it wherever they wanted. They were still nomads in their belief, and so they were the enemy of the Jews. A Samaritan stops and binds the wounds and carries him up and takes care of him, ministers to him. And Jesus said, who is the neighbor? And the lawyer said, the one who ministered. And Jesus said, you answered correctly. Now go and do likewise. So if we're going to be responsible in our living, we need to learn to reach out, to love, to help, to encourage. Not only ourselves, but also our neighbors. Now let's go do the right thing. Let's live responsibly.